According to Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 38, Section 20F, any member of the public may make an audio or video recording of the public meeting. A member of this public who wishes to record the meeting must first notify the chair and must comply with reasonable requirements regarding audio or video equipment established by the chair as not to interfere with the meeting. Anyone here recording? Other than the camera? All right, pledge allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Need a motion to approve the February 13, 2019 minutes. Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Need a motion to approve the March 1st, 2019 minutes. Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next is 1.5, student representative report.
Thank you. So since we last met, Diman students have continued to excel in an array of academic and extracurricular activities. This is usual for Diman students. So some of these achievements include, I hope everyone can hear me. Some of these achievements include the cheerleaders. They are both MAC and NVADA champions. The Diman chapter of DECA is sending 10 students to ICGC, which is the national competition level of DECA. And the Diman debate team successfully concluded its 2018-2019 season. AP courses such as AP Chemistry, AP Statistics, AP Literature, and AP Language are beginning to take mock exams, and they're really beginning to work hard now to ensure that students pass the exam. Probably the biggest piece of news I have is the fact that 60 Diman students won medals at Skills USA in the district competition. Many of these students winning gold medals, including my good friend Abraham Moss and Marcus Monroe. Additionally, the Diman varsity boys basketball team had a tournament win. The hockey team made it to a state tournament with Coach Dutra was named Coach of the Year. And I left this for last because it's maybe the biggest piece of news. $35,000 grant for automotive and diesel training was awarded by the Commonwealth of Massachusetts to Diman, and as far as my understanding goes, this was brought to Diman by the hard work of vocational coordinator Mrs. Torres and Superintendent Alden. On a more personal level, I'd just like to share how great the past couple of weeks have been at Diman. I've been here for almost 4 years now, and I haven't really seen a stretch of time where Diman has been so unified. There's concern that there's maybe contention in the air at Diman, and that things are hostile here, but I've never seen a more unified time. I have kids come up to me in hall all the time, asking about what's going on. Students are more involved in current affairs and politics, and they're motivated to do what's right more so now than ever. And I'm just very, very proud of how everything's going. So I think we're moving in the right direction.
Anybody signed up for no public? 2.0 unfinished business 2018 annual report.
Everyone has a copy of the annual report at this point. One of the things that I would like to point out is, first of all, it's student generated, so we're extremely grateful and proud of our students who came together from the business technology program to put it together. One of the things that we're really trying to emphasize with the student report was the exceptional technical programs and the exceptional academic programs. There's this belief out there somewhere along the line that you can't do one well without, sort of sacrificing the other. But in fact, if you take a look at the annual report, you'll see that we highlight a couple of our students who got accepted to very prestigious schools, and at the same time, for the second time in 4 years, we've had a student selected to the Gillette Apprenticeship Program, which is a very prestigious program. So if you have any questions on the annual report, we'll be more than happy to answer them.
We have any questions? The recommendation is to approve.
Motion made.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? This is 2.2. We'll move over that. 3.1 personnel, advisory board appointments.
We have Mr. David Fazina, currently an application specialist of Blackhawk Industrial. Mr. Fazina has 18 years of experience in machining and 6 years experience in sales.
Recommendation is to appoint David Pazina. Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Use of facilities.
We received a request from the Diman Parent Advisory Council toward the yard sale car wash to benefit the Parent Advisory Council Scholarship Fund. It will be held on April 13th, 2019 from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. Set up the day before between 3 and 8 p.m. It's requested that this fee be waived.
Recommendation is to approve the request from the Diamond Parent Advisory Council.
So moved.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We received a request from the Gutter Dance Studio for the use of the auditorium and classroom on June 14th and 15th, 2019 for a dance rehearsal and performance. June 14th, rehearsal, $625 for the auditorium. June 15th, 2019, recital, $1,250 for the auditorium, $350 for the classroom, custodial fee of $337.50, and a security fee for $474.30.
Recommendation is to approve the request from Goddard.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
We received a request from the Greater Fall Interagency Transition Team to hold a Meet Your Adult Agencies meeting on May 2nd, 2019 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m. in the library. It is requested that this fee be waived.
Recommendation is to approve the request.
So moved.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Bengal Education Foundation has donated $14,300 for 100% purchase price of 55 Chromebooks with school licenses.
Recommendation to accept the donation from the Diamond Education Foundation.
So moved.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Eastcom Associates has donated a radio detector CAT-4 estimated value of $1,100 to the construction cluster programs.
Recommendation to accept the donation. Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? Next, 3.2C, spend approved.
Yeah, we have three that were originally listed: CDW 300 ViewSonic notebook privacy filters, and that's for the MCAS test coming up. Fisher Bus Company prom buses in June, and Naviance College software. We have an additional one that was not reasonably anticipated, and that is the International Career Development Conference. I believe that Ben spoke about that in terms of as a result of our DECA performance. April 26, 2019, May 1st, 2019, registration is for $2,208, hotel is $6,600, airfare bus to Florida, $9,100, meals, $3,500 for a total of $21,408.
Recommendation is to approve the following expenditures.
So moved.
Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed? None. New business, 3.0D, 2018 student shop placement report. Mr. Miller.
Thank you. Good evening. So we had 371 freshmen who completed the shop exploratory program. New this year we had our medical assisting shop, as well as last year we had our computer programming. I believe with the addition of these 2 shops, we were able to significantly change our placement numbers. We had, this year, 95% of the students were placed in one of their first 3 choices as compared to 88 last year. So I think that's a significant improvement. As in the past years, we had about 68% of students who are selecting a different shop after they go through the exploratory. This year we had 78% of students that entered their first choice compared to 65% last year. Students who have earned the highest number of placement points were first, Jacob Furtado of Fall River. He placed into electricity. Logan Sandbutcher of Somerset. He placed into HVAC. And we had a tie for 3rd place, Alyssa Medeiros of Fall River, and she placed into health assisting, and Donovan Mello of Westport, who placed into HVAC. So there's a lot of detailed reports that were submitted to all the school committee members, and if you have any questions about them, I'd be happy to try to answer them for you.
Thank you. Any questions, comments?
The students who didn't get their first or possibly second choice, did many of them leave, or were they...
Actually, we had none of them leave based on their shop. We had 4 students who left since placement, and they all reported it was issues to do with their peers, other students. We actually replaced those students. We had 4 new students that came to us, but I'm happy to report no one left because of their shop placement.
Fantastic. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, 3.2E, House Building Facility Subcommittee. Mr. DiBiase.
We went over we'll start with the historical to come up and just to the whole committee and to the people here. Just give us a fast information about the house and what they're doing.
Good evening. So the house building project is going according to schedule. We have insulation and sheetrocking that has already been done at the home. We have one side left of the exterior to do the vinyl siding on, but the house is coming along according to plan, so everything is going well. One of our groups has moved on to another project because this one is well underway and on schedule.
Fantastic. Anybody have any questions? Joe, anybody have any questions? Thank you.
You're welcome.
There's 2 votes that we took in the subcommittee that we're bringing to the full committee, or passage to the full committee. One would be the design services for the foyer. This is for the design itself. The price for that, I don't know if you issued this in your folder, but it's from the Drumley, Rosanna Anderson and Company for $12,500 to do all the prints, the blueprints for the foyer, and also the project manager once a contractor is approved, and they will oversee the project of the foyer with that $12,500. So we're looking, Mr. Chairman, for a motion to approve the 12.5.
Need a motion on that? Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
There's no other votes on the agenda.
There's no other one. The medical assisting, do we have to approve that in full for the 100,000? Room renovation for the medical assistant?
I know that, but what is it, what is the vote for?
To use the money from the budget to, for the construction.
Unless it's done tonight, I'll put that for next meeting and properly post it.
Just for the full committee.
You can report it out.
Right, we'll report it so that everybody knows. So that the due to medical assistant growing, they'll be going into another room. And 2 years from now, we'll be going into a third room as we take new freshmen into the medical assisting. So rooms 214, 213, 215 are going to be the future, B, 213, 214, 215, are going to be the future home of those shops. So the construction, according to our Clem Benavides, the work can be done, at least 80–90% that can be done by the teachers and students here during the summer, with the exception of the flooring, ceiling, and the asbestos. He feels the whole job can be done around $100,000.
Thank you. Next 3.2F, MSBA update.
You want to?
I'll start it.
Sure.
All right. We don't, I don't know if everybody here received an email about the MSBA with the, right now, to get into the next phase, into the feasibility study, they had a couple of questions still that have to be answered before that can be done. And one of the questions was the enrollment. And when I spoke to the MSBA, they had a figure of 1,865, which they asked if it was ever came before this committee, and I said it has been brought up about increased enrollment, but we've never taken a vote on it. And they informed me that any increased enrollment not only would have to be approved by us, but it would also have to be approved by the communities, since the percentages of students would go up. So we would need to go back to the communities if we went above the 1450 for the new school. I don't know where the 1865 came from. Someone can enlighten me on that.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Taking a look at the number of applications we have, the historical number that we have, and if you go by the MSBA's own documents, it states that based on the recent 5-year average grade-to-grade survival ratios for grades 9, 10, 10, 11, 11, 12, the school would need to enroll 368 students into grade 9 for a total school enrollment of 1,400. And 490 students into grade 9 to support a total enrollment of 1,865. Currently, 80% of the accepted students actually enroll. At that rate, to support a 9th grade enrollment of 490 students, which would account for the 1,865, 612 students would need to apply. Take a look at our historical numbers, especially since Mrs. Miller has gone to an online submission of applications. Last year we were over 800 applications, this year we're over 700 applications. So in terms of the actual numbers, let me be clear on this. We were invited and we submitted our enrollment projections sometime in October and went up to MSBA in November. And we discussed the enrollment numbers based on the fact that the whole, well, not the whole purpose, but one of the major reasons we finally got into the pipeline was the fact that we've had chronic and acute overcrowding. So when we sat in front of the MSBA in Boston, they made it abundantly clear with a building project going on in Fall River and one in Westport that 1,800 would seem rather high. We understood that, and so we came up with some numbers to, again, based on the enrollment numbers that we've had over the past 5 years and the projections moving forward. So that's why we came up with those numbers. We had no problem with winnowing down the number. And as I told the Diane Sullivan from the MSBA on Monday, I don't care if it's 1,800, 1,600, 1,500, 1,400. We need a new building. The building was not. We're housing 1,413 students now in a building that was originally built for 800. So she seemed to be more than happy with the information that we said that we would get to her. As far as the communities knowing about it, going back to, I believe it was June 7th in Somerset, we did in fact talk about projections. But we were also told, if you remember, that because we didn't know we would get a renovation or a new build, they told us to stay away from those. And my issue with the MSBA in terms of going back to the community this late in the process, because we were supposed to sign a feasibility agreement on March 29, 2019. My issue is that if that was in fact there their desire. It would have been better to know that in November when we went up there, so we could put together a campaign that would have given us more wherewithal to actually do that. So by virtue of the fact that we did go to the committee, select people in Somerset in June, the committee in, I believe, July in Fall River, and the select people in July in Swansea. And also due to the fact that we held a number of events here at the school inviting both business and government leaders throughout the communities. We were very transparent relative to what we were looking at in terms of numbers. Now, in an effort to make sure that the numbers were in fact solid, we contracted back in the summer with NESDEC, who provided us numbers dated August 20th, 2018, which is part of the packet. And when we received these numbers, we immediately looked and said, doesn't seem like it. And that's why we didn't use these as the projections. And then when, in fact, MSBA came out with their projections, they validated the fact that the NESDEC numbers were not, in fact, solid. And so I understand where they got their numbers. They got it based on birth projections of the greater communities. But the fact of the matter is, if you take a look at the data from MSBA, you will find that our population, school population, since 2002 has had a significant increase and is in fact bucking the trend, while populations of school-age students in our 4 communities, and probably throughout Massachusetts, have gone down. The desire for high-quality technical education here at Diman continues to go up. So coming up with a number of 1,600 or 1,800 was based on historical data relative to the number of students who were on the wait list and the number of applicants. So, I just want to make it clear that this wasn't something that we just came up with. But again, to go to the communities before we even knew whether we had a renovation or a new build, we had been told early on that that was not something that we should be doing, because we didn't want to have to go back to the communities with different numbers than we originally presented.
Yes, sir.
So the last 2 years, we've had over 800 and 700 applicants.
800 this year, we're at 700 and change
We accepted how many?
this year, 375.
Right, but there are also, on those 375 of the 700, there are multiple numbers of students who applied, were accepted, and then decided they didn't want to come here. So I think our actual waiting list at this point, Ms. Miller, our actual waiting list right now for students that are waiting possibly to come into Diman.
If I may, we don't have a waiting list, we have excessive applications. But
We do. I can't give you a number right now because I have second rounds of applications that I have to look at. So that's a huge number of applications. And actually, since we have accepted our students, a lot of people are posting on social media that they've been accepted, and even our applications are up this week.
All right,
So
I was more referring to last year, the students, the freshmen that we have in here now, and the ones that, the 365 that we accepted last year, that came here in September.
Yeah. I have to get that number too. I have that information, but I can get that to you.
All right, but I believe you said it was, once everything was said and done, it was somewhere around 150.
I think it was more than that.
Okay. If you can get
But I can
back to us,
absolutely get that.
if you get back to us with that information, that would be helpful. But
Mrs. Thompson, I just provided her some information from the MSBA, so she has all of that I just compiled for her.
thank you.
So my question on that is, we're turning away 300 students because we don't have enough space.
yeah, again, this isn't my data, this is the MSBA. At a rate to support a 9th grade enrollment of 490 students, 612 students from the 2 o'clock. So, we've been historically over that over the past 2 years significantly, and even before we had the online application, we were in the really high 5 or 600 category. So, the fact that we continue to be an attractive institution for people to send their children, we can only expect that the projections are going to continue to go up.
One of the biggest concerns, Father, when we were in Somerset, we were talking with them about the feasibility study and explaining to them about student enrollment. One of the biggest questions they had was the student population. They, obviously, all the communities, all 4, don't want to lose their students. So by increasing our schools at 1865, another 400 students, that would mean another another 30, 25, 30 from Somerset, another 25, 30 from Swansea. These towns don't want to lose their students because obviously they want their Chapter 70 money as well for these students. And with Westport building a new school and Durfee building a new school with 10 new shops, they obviously don't want to lose their students either. So the bottom line is, we should have been included. I had suggested back in August when I became the MSBA chairman, anything that gets done comes through myself and the vice chair, so we know what's going on. We had no idea about the numbers. We had no idea that they went to November, went to see the MSBA. And until I talked to the MSBA last week, I had no idea that about the student enrollment and how we have to be approved, not only by us, by the communities. So what I'm asking Mr. Robin, Mr. Burrow, Ms. Thompson, anything else that's going to go to the MSBA? I already talked to Ms. Holland, Attorney Holland about it, that we be involved, that we come in, we sit with you, we go over the paperwork that's going to be submitted, and it's submitted through the building committee as well as the superintendent, assistant superintendent, and the administrative assistant.
This meeting you're talking about took place back in the summer. Just we had a meeting on September the 5th.
I didn't even know about the survey that was done that said on the amount of students, like you were talking about, on 1,400 students. We never even were privy to that information. So what I'm asking is that if you're going to, we're obviously going to have to meet to put together a figure for the MSBA because they're not going to go forward with anything until then, that the chairman and vice chairman be included with it.
Sure, and if you would like to call me, I'd be more than happy to help arrange that.
I think in general, Mr. Robin, I think you're correct. We're overcrowded. It's as simple as that. That's why we're in this situation to begin with. You know, we have 1,400 and change students in the school for a school that was made for 800. I don't think there's any disputing that. I don't think there's any disputing why we're doing what we're doing. I think the big issue is, and I think the MSBA had the issue and they kicked this back to us saying, where do these numbers come from and how do you justify them? And I think you did an all right job justifying them, but when you look at a study, an outside study that shows us between 1,300 and 1,400 students is applicable, and then we look at how the proposed capacities were laid out, there are some shops that we could actually probably lose students in, but we could add to other shops that require more.
Yeah, I wouldn't necessarily disagree with you, other than the fact that if you take a look at that NASDAQ report, which I believe is part of the packet, in the middle of the first paragraph, when we talk about the projection numbers, it states, to increase by just over 100 students, then to decline slightly to about the same number of 8th graders, 17-18 school year. And they had it down to 1,216 to increase by just over 100 students. What it says is, does this forecast mean that Diman Tech enrollment will also decline? And the key term is it, not necessarily. The quality and character of communication between Diman and its feeder schools has made a substantial difference in the recent past. And that's why, again, between social media and everything else that we've done, we are in a position to be incredibly desirable. Now, when we did meet with all of the communities, we reassured them that our goal isn't to drain them, and we understand completely that dollars follow a student. And that's why in meeting with many of the legislators, we've told them about the new funding formula, hopefully that they're going to come up with, that doesn't make it so student-to-school dependent, because then it becomes such a competitive situation where, in fact, we should be, as I recommended to Superintendent Schoonova and the other superintendents, that we should be sharing students. They're 8 miles away, they're 10 miles away. There's no reason why we can't be providing them at least a smattering of technical education. So.
And you're correct. I mean, Diman is desirable. All the vocational schools are very desirable. That's why it's so competitive for everybody to get in now. But again, like Mr. DiBiasio made a good point. When we look into the funding that goes into the feasibility study that we're going to go to the towns to allocate, and then we start to look at, oh yeah, by the way, in this we may take another 30 some odd students from your town at the tune of, I know Swansea, 10,000 change per student as it breaks down. It's going to be a hard pill to swallow for some of these smaller communities who already have low enrollment rates. So
I think it's spot on. I think again, when you go in front of the select people in the FinComs, as we have, they're getting calls from their own constituencies suggesting that they can't get the kids in. and that really solid kids aren't getting into the school right now. So it is a really difficult situation. We've tried to be open and transparent with everybody. If we feel we haven't, I apologize, but we will make sure that we send that stuff to you. Again, we went up there in November. We left completely understanding that 1,800 was not tenable, and we understood that.
One of the points that Diane made to me from the MSBA was every student you add increases the square footage, and with construction costs so big, they have to think of that too. We're thinking of the students, we're thinking of the future, we're also thinking of how much this is going to cost, not only them, but the 4 center communities.
But it will cost them, but again, the return on investment of this education is that we provide a skilled workforce that then hopefully stays in the community and reinvests in its community, both in terms of the wealth of the community and the quality of life. So, understood.
Thank you.
I just want to add one more thing. As far as the requested documents to redo, reallocate, and reanalyze, is our administration going to be working on that? Reallocate that to anybody?
I did. I spoke with Ms. Thompson, I guess, Mr. Orban, and Ms. Miller have been working on that this week. And it's all sorry, that's in the packet
I guess,
here.
and if I may, part of it, quite honestly, has to do with the 2018 labor market report. And the fact that, when we take a look at our cooperative education, just about all of our programs have more students, more jobs than students. And so to suggest that we start cutting some numbers down, we're going to hear from advisory board members saying that they can't get qualified workers in their trades. Even in programs that have typically lower numbers, we know that the job market for them is incredible at this point. It's really something.
All right, thank you. When do you figure the report will be ready?
It's ready.
Pretty much ready now. So the MSBA,
I'll arrange it through just your assistant, on a time and date that's good for you and Ms. Miller.
And if we can, just make sure, again, we get that out as quickly as possible for the thinking committees.
I agree. I want to get this done as quickly as possible.
Also, just so everybody's aware, we have been out, I want to make it clear, we submitted our deliverables well before the 270 day, but we have been asked to sign an extension because we were hoping to be on the equal agenda for the MSBA. We are not, they are now pushing it to June. We are not the only school district Plymouth is also. And what I asked Diane Sullivan was this a cash flow issue? And she said, no, it wasn't a cash flow issue. They just wanted to make sure on the enrollment numbers. So.
all right, and just, I did sign that extension, so.
Okay, so we're good to go
Ready to
at
go.
this point. Excellent.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Next on the new business, 3.2G, the LPN tuition increase.
So at this time of year, I apologize. Is there any
No, go ahead.
Okay. So at this time of year, we usually set our rate for next year, and obviously, theaters accepting applications, and people want to know what the phone is going to cost. There was a comparison done of basically our competition within the vocational schools. And after evaluating that and having discussions with Mr. Orban, we decided that we would increase the rates, the in-district rate, out-of-district rate, which is presently $17,700 to $18,000. We would not change the in-district rate. We would leave that at $11,100. My concern about having some type of increase is that obviously we have contractual obligations for all the staff there, and so typically we try to at least raise it to at least cover what our potential salary increases are. And I don't have them in front of me, but I think our salary increases are going to be about $14,000 next year. So this would provide some support to that. And so, and just again, in-district would remain the same. Out-of-district would go from $17,700 to $18,000. And out-of-state, which we don't have many, but we do. We already accepted one, would go from 19,100 to 19,000. In-district rate is 11,100, and we would not change that.
And if I can, Mr. Plymouth is somewhere at 7,000?
Yeah,
The
7,000.
difference is pretty significant, so that's why.
Yeah, and we've got Blue Hills, 10,500. I mean, it's definitely we're at the high end, look what we got.
I'm glad you kept it the same, because when we voted to increase it last year, we made note that we would try to hold the line, for at least this year or the year coming, because of the, keeping the in-district rate at the 11 so we were already at the high end then.
Right. So that's my recommendation.
Mrs. Kane, do you have copies of that?
Oh,
Can you get one in a packet?
No, I'm sorry, I didn't give copies out to the other schools, what the other schools were.
Oh, no, but the increases were.
Oh, okay, so I apologize.
I know you just mentioned that.
In district, 11,100, and that would remain the same. Out of district, 17,700, and that would increase to 18,000. Out of state, 19,100 is the present tuition, and it would increase to 19,400.
Okay. Need a motion?
Motion to increase the rates of the out of district and out of state.
Need
By $300.
a second?
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
Thank you.
Next, monthly financial report, Mrs. Kane.
Okay. So we close the monthly financial report. The year is moving right along. We have about 14 weeks left. I am pleased to say that we are on budget, and where there are some shortfalls, which aren't many, I have accounted for them in the total budget. Does anyone have any questions?
Any questions, comments? No? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
3.2I, superintendent report.
Yes, I've given a number of documents to you, and I'll just go over very quickly. By any measure, last couple of weeks have been really outstanding for Diman Regional. We received our letter from the New England Association of Schools and Colleges in terms of a 5-year focused visit for purposes of re-accreditation. And as you can see from the letter, things are going very well. We will be reaccredited for another 5 years, and you can see that we were reaccredited with warning for standard 10 school facilities, and I think that's standard operating procedure. Anytime you're in a MSBA pipeline, they're going to cite the school facilities as sort of a support for what we've been saying all along, that our instructors and staff are punching way above their weight, and we need a new building. The recommendations, I can tell you, are being done as we speak. Continued support for academic faculty in transition from 8 to 6, and for, I should say, trimesters to semesters, but we are doing that as part of the scheduling. We are trying to improve transportation, and as a matter of fact, we should be picking up another van, I believe, next week, a work van, so that'll alleviate some of the stresses that we have with our building programs. But I want to take this opportunity to congratulate the administration, the staff, and the school committee on what is a great NEAS report. Accreditation doesn't get better than that at this point. The second item that I handed to you is the Council on Occupational Education. More good news. The practical nurse program has been, in fact, reaccredited. And it is reaccredited for a 6-year period. They will have to send in annual reports, but I am extremely proud of the LPN staff, especially in light of where the program was a mere 3 years ago. The staff worked incredibly hard to prepare for this, and when I say staff, that includes everybody. Rosie Blanchette, Lucy, everybody. So that was a great report. You can look at it if you have any questions. The next item that I have to discuss is that we have submitted once again a Massachusetts Skills Capital Grant. We submitted on time, so we are in the pipeline. We got confirmation of that. The 2 programs we targeted this year are really more than 2 programs, but they are allied health, which includes all of our programs, medical assisting, health assisting, dental, and in some respects LPN, although they're not supposed to be part of that, and our advanced manufacturing welding program. And the reason that we targeted those 2 was that in speaking with Bob LePage from the executive office this past summer, he recommended with the shortage of welders in our region that we put in some monies for welding. And so $200,000 of that $500,000 grant will be going towards the welding program, in particular for robotic welding. Part of the shortage of welders that this district and all districts combined will not be able to meet is going to be exacerbated when you see the wind projects coming up. So the idea of being able to program a robotic welder fits right in line with where the direction of the industry is going. The other $300,000 is for the purchase of Microsoft HoloLens glasses. I have supported letters from Bristol Community College and I believe Primacare, and I share these with you in terms of the importance of getting augmented reality and mixed reality into our programs. As you know, priority 1 occupation is healthcare in our region, and we are currently working on a curriculum modification in the hope of partnering with Case Western University out of Cleveland, who has approved for us to send in a proposal for a partnership. So we will keep you abreast of what's going on. I'm going to give you a small portion of this. This is a 23-page grant. If you'd like to take a look at it, I have it available. The other thing that I gave to you is really more for sort of your aggrandizement. You just approved the purchase of a number of Chromebooks, and that's great because, again, most schools are moving towards one-to-one. And I just want to point out that the New York Times article dated in October 26, 2018, suggests that parents in Silicon Valley, the home of Google and all of these other high-tech companies, are moving away from electronics because they feel that there's some danger to it. And so I'll provide that for your reading, and I'll be more than happy to answer any questions on that. There are some ancillary articles that go with that that were the same date, but I think it's a really interesting reading. And before next year, as we talk about the budget at the next meeting, these are the things I think we should at least have at the forefront. And what do we have to prepare our kids to make sure, as we're using this technology, that they're not being exploited. So,
Thank
that's
you.
it.
The next school committee meeting will be tentative for the 27th and 28th at this point.
If I can, Mr. Jennings?
Yes.
We have the job fair on April the 2nd, and I would really recommend and invite all of you personally to the job fair. Last year we had 70 companies with over 400 students, and this year we've actually opened it up to the grade 9 students because the belief is the earlier they get an understanding of the market out there and the variation of jobs that are available, the more likely it is that they'll be more engaged and brought into this program. So if you can make it, by all means, we'd like to have you.
Great, thank you. We got to figure it's on either 27th or 28th. We haven't narrowed it down.
I believe it starts at 10 o'clock.
And then on April the 11th is the yes banquet.
Again, everybody is invited. Really highlight of our year, showcasing our students' technical and academic skills. Even though it's called the Vocational Student of the Year, the academic skills you need in order to be successful at the vocational end is a credit to both our academic and vocational programs, and that's why it's quite a night. You've been before. I know it'll be excellent again. Mrs. Todd is feeling the pressure, but she's going to do a bang-up job as she usually does.
Great, thank you.
Oh, I apologize, my apologies. That's the one in Worcester. Okay, that is the
Oh,
one in
that's for the
Worcester.
yes.
The college invite. If you could let us know about that sooner rather than later, because we actually have to reserve tables for that. So if you're interested in going, that is the 11th, correct? It's I will tell you, it's a long night, so don't plan anything after.
We have reason to go into executive session?
Yes.
Pursuant to Mass General Law, C 30A 21A, paragraph 2, conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, or to conduct collective bargaining sessions or contract negotiations with non-union personnel. L. Ferreira, Assistant Superintendent Principal, and/or Superintendent Director Negotiations. D. Pursuant to Mass General Law, C 30A 21A, paragraph 3, to discuss strategy in respect to collective bargaining or litigation in an open meeting may be detrimental effect on the bargaining or litigating positions of the public body, and the chair so declares. Thomas F. Morgan versus Greater Florida Vocational School District.
Mr. Chairman, we'll be entering back into open session and may or may not vote.
Okay. Need a motion to go into executive session? Need a second? All in favor? Aye. Lucy, roll call. Yes.